Do the words Parker Sonnet ripoff come into mind when I show you this pen? Well, hopefully they should, because this is a Parker Sonnet and this is a pretty blatant copying, and for all intents and purposes, they pretty much look the same. Now, I'm not here to talk about the Sonnet, that's probably for a different day, but I am here to talk about the Baoer or Baoer 388, which is a blatant knockoff of the Parker Sonnet. And no surprise, it is made in China by the company Baoer. And fitting that it's made in China, it's given a cheap Chinese price. The Parker Sonnet costs $160 and up. For a Baoer, well, speaks for itself. I paid $2.82 for this, plus free shipping, and well, it speaks for itself. This is probably one of the best cheap Chinese knockoff pens that I have. It's not amazing because it's a cheap Chinese pen. It's amazing for a fountain pen, full stop. Just the fact that it is a cheap Chinese pen that I only paid less than $3 for makes it even better. Now, I'll talk you through the pen, talk you through the body, talk you through the nib, and why it is such an amazing pen. Let's get started. Okay, first, as always, let's go through some of the pen dimensions. So, those of you who have Parker Sonnets should be familiar with this. It's not 100% Parker Sonnet dimensions. It is a tad bit longer, but it is pretty similar. So, capped, this pen will be 13.8 centimeters. Uncapped takes it down to 12.1, and it posts to make it a pretty large pen at 15.6 centimeters. So, if you're like me and like the Parker Sonnet or medium-sized pens, this will suit you pretty well. And the weight isn't something that I could complain about either. It is a pretty nice weight. So posted, it will be about 27 grams, and uncapped, it's about 15 grams. So depending how you like to write with it, whether you like a heavy pen or a light pen, this one should be able to cover it. Me particularly, I like to write with a somewhat heavier pen, and I'll always write with this pen posted, but I feel no reason why this pen could be written unposted. I have written with it unposted, and I think it is very comfortable, but I would much rather write with it like this. So let's go through the body first. The body is made from, I guess, brushed steel, and unlike a lot of the cheap Chinese pens that feel incredibly weak, this pen is not weak at all. I've been carrying this pen around for about 6 months now, always with me in my bag, and it is pretty much scratch free. You bang on it and it is, well, it feels like a very, very sturdy pen. The cap and the body, you know, I could sit on this pen with it in my back pocket and I wouldn't worry about it one bit. Some of the more cheaper, more fragile Chinese pens, such as the Heroes, I'm afraid that I could break those. This pen, no chance of breaking, even down to the threads here. These threads are incredibly thick. There's no way these are breaking. As well as that, in here, the threads on the inside, there's no way that these are breaking anytime soon. So, good thing, well, props to props to Baoer for the sturdiness of this design. As well as that, if we move down to the section, it is a pretty nice section. It's very similar to the Parker Sonnet, but it is a bit shorter. It starts at about 11 millimeters in diameter, and then it sort of tapers down to 9 millimeters. And for me, that is a very comfortable grip. I wish it was a bit bigger, but it's really nothing. It's just a little complaint. The only real complaint I have with this grip is if you look closely at it, there is a little bit of a step down. And yes, it is really small, but after a while, and if you brush your finger up and down it when writing, it is going to bugger the hell out of you, and it will be pretty uncomfortable. But that's just my take on it. Alright, let's talk about the nib. Now, usually this is where a lot of the Chinese pens will fall flat on their ass, but this pen has a pretty damn good nib. It is going to be a stainless steel nib because it is a $2.80 pen, and that's obviously understandable, but that's not a bad thing. And for this pen, it has a pretty good nib for the price. In fact, it is a good nib, full stop. I have no real issues with the pen, and considering that I've bought pens that are 20 or 30 times the price of this pen that have had issues such as baby's bottom or one time being misaligned, and having a pen that only costs $2.80 be problem free is really amazing. There's nothing special about this nib. It just works. The only complaint that I can hustle up is when you do diagonal strokes, or sort of up strokes, like if you're doing a U and you're doing that sort of part, when you do the up portion, it is a tad bit gripping. Is it a deal breaker? No. Does it restrict me from writing long paragraphs? No. It's just a little bit of a complaint, but hey, it's $3 and it's only a mild annoyance. So $2.80, I think that's pretty damn good. Another thing that I love about this is it's pretty damn reliable. I've left this pen idle for about 10-15 days, come back and it will be pretty much a wet one instantly. I haven't had any cases of this pen starting drying. This pen just doesn't run dry either when I do fast writing. It is a very, very good feed. It's not overly wet, it's medium, maybe a bit less than medium, but I'm not someone that particularly goes after particularly wet pens. So this one does me by pretty good if I'm stuck with it. Is it going to be as good as a Parker Sonnet? No. That pen has a 18 karat gold nib. That pen comes in various sizes. That pen has quality control checks. So it's not going to be as good, but is the Parker Sonnet 100 times better because it's 100 times the cost of this pen? No, absolutely not. The only thing that I could say about this pen being so cheap is that they're probably pumping out tons of these nibs all the time, and it could just be that I got a good pen and that if you bought one you might get a dud pen because there's no quality control. So just keep that in mind. But this pen is really, really good for $2.80. Now, let's talk about flex of the pen. Does it spread its legs? Does it spread its tines? Yes, it does. Does it take a lot of pressure? It does. It's not a flex pen, but it is a pen that will give you some line variation. Now, unfortunately, the feed won't keep up with the flex of the pen past a certain extent, and this pen can railroad if you push it there. But it's nice to have a little bit of line variation, and this pen can easily keep up with it. Last thing I want to say is that this pen can reverse write, right upside down, whatever you want to call it, pretty well. It is a bit scratchy, but compared to a lot of other pens, it's a pretty nice pen for writing upside down. Okay, let's talk about what I like about this pen, and always, with all the Chinese pens, definitely the price. Being able to purchase a fountain pen for $2.80 and sometimes less is just mind-boggling for me, how they can actually pump these out and then ship it and make a profit from it. I think that being a Chinese pen, you always take a bit of a gamble when buying them. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're absolute shite and they're going to tear up the paper. But it just so happens that this time I've struck gold and gotten a really good pen that I've used a lot. And even if this wasn't a good pen, does it really matter? Because you're only losing about $2.80. It costs less than fries from McDonald's. So I'm always happy to pay for these cheap Chinese pens. That being said, this is a really good pen. Full stop. Not just being a Chinese pen. This is a good pen. Full stop. As well as that, I do enjoy the nib, even though it is a bit gripping. I think it is a very, very nice nib. It's, well, nice compared to Chinese nibs. I think it's an alright nib. There's nothing amazing about it, but that being said, it only cost me $2.80. I also like the fact that it is so robust and sturdy. There's no way that any of this is breaking. The threads will never break. This probably won't scratch. It would take some guy hacking at you or someone deliberately trying to destroy this pen to actually scratch it or damage it. And then, again, if someone was trying to break your fountain pen, you would brutally murder them. Okay, what do I not like about this pen? If I had to sum it up in two things, because it's not a bad pen, the only things I really want to nitpick about this pen is probably the nib being a bit sticky. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not going to slow you down, but it is something to complain about. It is a bit sticky, but hang, you could probably grind it down or get someone else to, and it will probably be fine. Either that, or maybe it was just my pen, because remember, there's no quality control, and maybe if you buy a pen, it would be a totally different writing experience. But that's just my pen. And the only other issue that I would really take up issue with this pen being is the railroading. It's not the worst railroading in the world. I've had Jinhaos do worse railroading. I've had some pilots do worse. So this is not bad, but it is always annoying when you want that little bit of flex and the ink just sort of, pops, the ink bubble pops and it railroads. So, good pen. Yeah, good pen.